Additional aids and services are available to individuals with disabilities. To make such a request, please contact us by email, by clicking the Help tab in the PD portal, or at pdportal@tamu.edu, by phone, including Relay Texas at 1-800-441-7323, or in writing to Train PD, PD Portal Support, 4477 TAMU, College Station, Texas 77843. Both a transcript and accessible document of the content presented in this webinar can be found as resources in the course description. Click on the blue links under Course Resources in the description. When a link is clicked, a new browser window will open.
I wanted to just bring up a couple of things. If you've been listening to our informational webinars, I wanted to put these on a slide. A couple of things that might be good for you to know and join and participate in is one of the things in the community of practice is to join the Approved Tests for Texas community of practice. We have a folder for each of the testing tools that we use in Texas. I will create one for WorkKeys. And when there's announcements that come through for the different testing tools, like webinars that they might have, monthly webinars, I know some of the publishers have those, I'll usually post those through that community of practice, and then you'll get an email notice in the community of practice that there's a notification of a webinar or something that you might need to know. So I encourage you to join that one. I hope that you'll want to look at the TDBC approved test training chart. It has been updated with more information about the new test series. We have the old test information and new test series information, as Mahalia is referring to all of these tests as old and new, and WorkKeys is new, which is what we're talking about today. This is an informational webinar, so you're not going to be getting PD credit. I do want to introduce you to Michael Monson. We're going to have demonstrating workforce readiness and adult education programs using WorkKeys assessments. So Michael Monson is here with us today. He is the account executive for Workforce Solutions for ACT. They're the publisher for WorkKeys. So Michael, we want to welcome you here. He lives in Texas, so he's a Texan. And I want to tell you that there's been a lot of interest in WorkKeys, Michael. We're excited for you to talk to the field about WorkKeys and let us know more about it so that they can ask questions at the local program level.
Thank you, Tracy. I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to this presentation we have about WorkKeys. We are very excited with Texas adopting WorkKeys for NRS approval as one of the tests that you can use. And I'm hoping that today will generate enough information that you'll want to learn more. And I've got my contact information on this presentation and a variety of other individuals at ACT that'd be a great resource in case you'd like to learn more on how to begin using WorkKeys. Again, my presentation will be just demonstrating how we can use WorkKeys in the adult education programs. We'd like to make sure that you can maximize your WIOA funding, and we'd be using WorkKeys to apply real world from the classroom experience and building confidence within those who are using WorkKeys. We offer our learners and individuals who use WorkKeys what we call a National Career Readiness Certificate. It is a nationally recognized credential, and I'll be talking more about that here as we move forward through this presentation. WorkKeys is an adult program. It's helped to get adults ready for work quickly in weeks, not within years. WorkKeys is based on real-world application, real-world work. We have what we call ACT Workforce Curriculum, which is a companionship to the assessments, the WorkKeys assessments. It's ideal for adult learners, and it's basically an online learning process. And of course, if we take 3 of the assessments, you can earn the National Career Readiness Certificate. I'll talk about how that is used in the workforce, and especially by employers. WorkKeys is aligned to the College and Career Readiness Standards for Adult Ed. So at ACT, we have a mission, and it's to help people achieve education and workplace success. We have a value proposition and guiding principles to which we use. We are a holistic company. We are working with individuals from K through 12 all the way through working career. a way in which we can integrate our proposals and be able to help people make transformational events in their life so they can gain greater employment. That's the name of the game at WorkKeys, is to help individuals become employed. We help employers be able to find individuals. We help individuals to prepare themselves for the opportunity to become employed. We have 4 different areas in our workforce solutions. We are able to assess the workforce. We're able to certify people who take the assessment. We're helping to develop the individuals in that workforce. And then by doing all this, we help empower communities. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the communities here in Texas that are using WorkKeys in a holistic process with employers, educators, and the community civil governments. First, the NCRC assessments. There are 3 assessments. The first one is applied math. And applied math is using critical thinking and the mathematical situation to be able to help identify, convert, and calculate. There's graphic literacy. In this area, can you use graphs to interpret data, compare data, and using data to make decisions? And there's workplace documents, which is can you read for comprehension, sometimes having to infer meanings of words, decipher what is being requested and asked, and then applying what you read in a real world situation to be able to do your jobs. And many of the workplace documents that we use in our assessments are memos, letters, company dictates. So it's, again, a real world application involved in WorkKeys. When you take those 3 assessments, you can earn the National Career Readiness Certificate, the NCRC. A little over 5 million people have received the NCRCs now. And there's 4 levels of the NCRC based upon the scores in which you get from the WorkKeys assessment. Those levels, of course, are bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. I'll talk a little bit more about this and how you earn that. Currently, we have roughly 29,000 employers who either require or recognize the NCRC and use that in the employment process. And that list is growing constantly and is growing here in the state of Texas. The WorkKeys assessments are graded from 3 to 7. So you must receive at least a 6 on all 3 of those assessments to earn a platinum, and then, of course, a 5 on all 3 to get a gold, a 4 to get a silver, and a 3 to get the bronze. So the bronze level, a 3 on the assessments, is really basic education, and it can demonstrate that an individual can earn a certificate that demonstrate they have the skill sets that employers are looking for. And we'll talk more about those jobs and what they can earn. You get a certificate, and it demonstrates that I have taken the assessments and I've been able to demonstrate that I have a certain skill level. Now, ACT has profiled, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later in the presentation, but we have profiled over 24,000 jobs. And we have looked at the jobs, basically what is required of the jobs, and then we've been able to relate those skills and those jobs back to the assessments and the skills that are measured in the assessments. So if you have a platinum certificate, you can qualify for approximately 99% of all those 24,000 jobs to which we have measured. A gold gives you access to roughly 93%, a silver 69%, and a bronze 17%. And you think, well, 17%, but if we profiled 23,000 jobs, you still qualify for roughly 3,700 jobs to which we have profiled. And you can demonstrate to employers with that certificate, I do have the skill sets that can meet and qualify for this job. On the back of the certificate, it shows what you've earned, shows your scores that you've received in the 3 assessments, and then it says what your capabilities are from those scores. So oftentimes we have individuals who will have a certificate and they'll go into an employer and they'll say, oh, well, I have a gold level NCRC certificate. They'll say, well, what does that mean? Well, they can show the certificate and they can show the background certificate. This is the skill level I have in these 3 areas. And this is really valuable to employers because most of us know that if you hand in a resume is basically creative fiction, and you can put anything you want on a resume, and you got, anything you want on a job application. But this is a certified document that says I have been assessed, and I now can attest to the fact that I do have these skills, which is valuable to employers because we have a plethora of case studies, which we've done at ACT, that demonstrate when an employer hires the right individual with the right skill set, that they save a lot of money. Training goes down, productivity goes up, absenteeism goes down, retention on the job goes up. We've had some employers demonstrate they save anywhere between $250,000 to $500,000 a year based on the fact that they're hiring the right people for the right jobs. And of course, these are large-scale employers who have adopted WorkKeys as a visible means in which they can hire individuals. Companies like Toyota, Michelin, Mercedes-Benz, and several here in the Texas area and in the surrounding states. And we have all that online. You can see what those are. It's a very valuable tool, this NCRC, to demonstrate the skill level an individual has. You can print out the certificate and demonstrate this. Each individual who does take those 3 assessments can open up at their myworkkeys.com. It's a free application, a free site. They can get a username and password. They can see the scores they got. They can print out their own certificate, and they can demonstrate what they have. These certificates can also be co-branded. So, for example, if your college or your institution does the testing of these individuals, you can have your own seal and your own signatures on this also to demonstrate that they have earned this from this community college or from this organization, perhaps it's a chamber of commerce that says that this individual has this accreditation from us too. Again, you can open up your own WorkKeys account and be able to demonstrate you have this. It shows the 22,000 jobs in which you can qualify for. So if you look at AC WorkKeys, again, like I mentioned before, we have an ACT WorkKeys curriculum. It's the ability for individuals to improve the skill sets that they have. Key features, it's a self-paced online. There's placement quizzes that individuals can go through to see where they score and what they would have to improve on. And it's got linked modules. There's an overview, lessons, practice, and quizzes involved. There's multiple topics and interactive components on WorkKeys. And easy to create reports from this also. There's many support features also built within the WorkKeys curriculum. So you can have the curriculum to help individuals learn, and then you can give the assessments to demonstrate the skills they have learned or they do have. There are aligned courses. Of course, we have the NCRC math, with the graphic literacy, and the workplace documents. We also have an essential skills course that could teach those skills in which the individuals learn how to work in teams, work discipline, customer service, things of this nature. So we have many customers that employ and use WorkKeys curriculum as a visible means to be able to help individuals prepare for the WorkKeys assessments, or once they take the assessments, it can help them improve the skills so they can potentially get a higher level of certificate. Why WorkKeys? Well, so WorkKeys can help prepare adult learners to successfully transition from either post-secondary education or apprenticeship programs and into the workforce. It can help build confidence in the individual that they take the test. It demonstrates the skills they have, and then they can use those skills to look at our job profile or boards to see what jobs they would be qualified for. Helps them prepare and transition. Also, I'll talk a little bit about ACE. The education recommends getting credits at a local community college if they'd like. They can also now share their NCRC on a digital badging. We now have digital badging through Credly that they can put that on their portfolio online. They can share that on LinkedIn or their Facebook page or wherever they have that. So it's this ecosystem of WorkKeys where you can have WorkKeys curriculum can help prepare an individual. The WorkKeys assessments can help them measure the skills. They can have the WorkKeys NCR certificate that certifies they have the skills. And then by using our job profiling, they can find the jobs and find jobs that they are qualified for. You can connect WorkKeys to the ONET and help find different jobs, the profiles of those jobs, their salary ranges, and how that can help. We have a database, and it's right there at jobsprofile.act.org, where an individual can go in and you can either put in the job title, or you could go into the career cluster, or maybe just the job description. And you could basically say, I'm interested in, say, this one is the software developers. So it will bring up the software developer jobs to which we have profiled. It will demonstrate what skills levels you'll need if you'd like to apply for those type of jobs. So this one, the minimum skill levels, you need to have at least a bronze to qualify to think about getting this job in this area. If you notice in the middle of the page there, it says search by skill level. So if you click on search by skill level, it drops down the menu where you can put in the assessment scores that you'd receive, and then said, I'd like to see what jobs are available based upon the skills in which I've been able to demonstrate I have with WorkKeys, the assessments. And it will show you all the jobs that you qualify for. This one, it happens to be, they've looked it up in the food service industry. An individual who has a 4 in applied math and a 3 in workplace documents and a 3 in graphic literacy, they can qualify for a short order cook, servers, healthcare workers. They can take their certificate into these employers that have these type of jobs and say, I have demonstrated the skill set that I qualify for this type of job, which can then help them be able to obtain the employment they're looking for. On our WorkReady website, we have the industry profiles for certain specific jobs. This one happens to be in the software development business. You can see the number of job openings for a 10-year period. It shows you the median annual wage. It gives you an idea that can help an individual say, I'm looking and going to this area. What job should I really be thinking about looking at? I mean, if you really want to become a film editor, you can see there's only going to be roughly 4,300 jobs in the United States in the 10-year period. However, a software developer seems to be a career area where you might be able to find a job. Those occupational profiles can be found in our Work Ready community webpage. And you can see where we have it on these 14 different career clusters. You can click on any of these career clusters, and then you can see the different jobs that will list. It will show what the median income is, how many jobs are available, and then also shows the WorkKeys scores that you would need to have if you really wanted to get into that. So on this one, you can see where it says computer and information system managers. You need to have at least a gold certificate. You need to have a 5 in each of those. If you had that, it can show you the median income they're going to be making and how many openings are projected. So you can get a good idea that, okay, I just finished high school, I took the WorkKeys assessment, and I have a goal. I really don't know what I want to do, but they could go to this site and they could just say, hey, look, if I wanted to go into the information service area, these are the potential jobs that I would qualify for. And I could be looking at the income range in which these jobs offer. So an individual then could take in their scores, they could look through and say, I really want to go into real estate. They could click on real estate and see what jobs are available in the real estate industry. And if they qualify and they could make a match and try to help move themselves forward to that occupation. We now work with Credly in sharing our badges. It's easy to share online. It can explain what earners can do and says who they earned it from. Students will see direct connections between their skills and their job levels. Employers can actually go on Credly site and they can verify that the individual does have the credentials in which they're mentioning. And there's a digital landing page. It connects with the opportunities. So you have skill tags, you have earning criterias. For example, if I was going to become a pharmacy technician here at Walgreens, it shows all the information for it and how you'd qualify for it with your gold opportunity that you'd have with the NCRC Gold. The American Council on Education has recommended credits for individuals that they have a WorkKeys NCRC and the level of WorkKeys. So bottom line is that the platinum holder can get 3 credit hours in both technical math and information literacy. Gold levels, they can get up to 4 credits. Silver can get up to 2 credits. Right now, there's no credit offerings for the bronze certificate. These are the colleges right now that offer these kind of credits. Each college, they review the situation. They can review the ACE recommendation. They make the decision on their own if they're going to offer this, and they can just go from there. So these are just a list of some of the colleges that now offer credit for coming in with an NCRC certificate. If you're a community college or a college and you want to look more into this, we can provide that information. Each college makes its own decision on what they want to offer credits for. But obviously, coming in with a gold or platinum certificate demonstrates the individual has skills in those areas, qualified skills in which might apply for the credits they're recommending. The National Career Ready Certificate, what people are saying about this certificate and the value it is. We asked these questions on individuals. 49% said the certificate did help them make more money. 61% said the certificate helped them get a job. And 95% of people said they would recommend the certificate. In real world application, it's a valuable piece of paper, the NCRC, to be able to demonstrate that I have these skills and it helps me get the job that I'm looking for. So Work Ready communities, we do this by county. This is where counties have gotten together, where the government, the educators, and the employers have gotten together and say, we see great value in WorkKeys, and we're going to use WorkKeys to help build our labor force in the community. We have 541 participating counties throughout the United States. 28,000 employers support this, 5.6 million NCRCs, and we now have 31 states that are engaged. They have at least one work-ready community. Here in the state of Texas, we have a lot of work to do. We have about 6 or 7 communities that are now involved with this. They're starting to implement WorkKeys in their educational process and within the government and within the employers. So far, we've given 37,000 NCRCs here in the state of Texas, and you can see the distribution, which is about what every community shows. You have a large group in the gold and silver range, a selective few in the platinum range. We have profiled over 188 jobs here in the state of Texas. Right now, we have 372 employers that support it. This shows you some of the employers that are either recognized or require the NCRC. You go to the Texas page on the website, you can see all 372 of the employers that use this. In each of these areas, we're seeing more and more employers come on board saying, hey, we see great value in WorkKeys. We recognize this certificate, or we actually use the certificate in our employment process. Because we have the Chamber of Commerce and we have educators saying we see great value in this. that it can help prepare learners, especially adult learners, and be able to get jobs. NRS approval. Just recently, WorkKeys has been approved for NRS and to be able to use in assessing all adult education programs and to benefit. The two assessments that have been approved for NRS is applied math and workplace documents. These are allowable expenses under the WIO funding to be able to implement this. Graphic literacy is not there yet, but the cost of graphic literacy is for all these assessments only $13 an assessment. So for an additional $13, an individual can earn the certificate they're looking for and be able to help them find a job. NRS approval shows that with workplace documents, it can measure levels 2 through 6, for math levels 1 through 6. There are 4 forms. They're on computer-based assessments for each of these areas. Each assessment takes 55 minutes. ACT recommends at least 30 hours recommended from post-testing from the first test. And of course, you want to select a different form to be able to use. And if you test an individual, the program will automatically assign a different form to the individual who's testing after the 30-hour recommended period. You don't use the same form on doing the pre and the post test. So you can see different pathways as they're working on their high school equivalencies. They still need a job. And say they take the assessment, an adult got some skills, whether that's from previous jobs or previous education opportunities. And they can earn an NCRC. If they have a silver certificate, they qualify for thousands of jobs. It's one thing getting a high school equivalency or a GED, but the fact is that while they're working on that educational, they can get a job by demonstrating, I've got skills. I might not have a high school equivalency, but I do have skills. And WorkKeys has been able to certify these skills, and employers see great value in that certification and say, you know what, as long as you can read a safety manual and you got the skills level for this job, sure, I need you. I need 100 employees, and I'll even help you through the process of getting the equivalency if that's what you're looking at getting. An employer needs 100 people, and an individual shows, hey, look, I can easily be one of the 100 because I've got the skill set measured by the WorkKeys assessment. It's a great benefit to that adult learner. If you have a high school diploma, WorkKeys can be used as entry level to an apprenticeship program. If you have your high school level diploma and you take WorkKeys, you can go right into a job search or maybe if a job referral and get right in there and see about an opportunity to begin work. If the name of the game is that we're helping our adult learners become educated enough and to be able to demonstrate they have skills that they get into the workforce, then WorkKeys can be a critical component of that, be able to help them certify that they've got the skill levels to get into the workforce. The big difference between WorkKeys and all the other assessments out there is that with those 3 assessments, now I do realize again that only math and workplace documents is covered under the WIO funding right now, but the graphic literacy part then completes the trifecta of those 3 assessments, and then they can earn that NCRC.
Okay, Michael, we've got a few questions. Are the Spanish versions approved with the NRS, the workplace documents?
I don't think so at this time, but I'd have to check because I don't know if those 4 forms are in Spanish yet.
Will this assessment be only used to determine HSC in training? Is ESL included?
I don't believe ESL is included.
I keep hearing certification, but it's not a technical credential, right? Or at least can't count as one for reporting.
Technically, it is a certificate, but we're seeing these stackable credentials and certification. And if you're looking like a pyramid of credentials, WorkKeys would be on the bottom. It demonstrates that you have the foundational skills that you can then move into other credentialed areas.
Is there a curriculum for applied technology?
No, not at this time. We have an applied technology assessment, but we don't have a curriculum for that yet.
Everyone needs to remember that this is brand new in Texas. So some of y'all's questions are absolutely amazing and great because y'all are the boots on the ground. And I think that as we get to know WorkKeys and you get them in your program and work with it and ask TWC some of these questions about credentials, if you go past just doing the NRS approved test and you work with more of the system here, ask TWC these questions because I do think that they'll need to consider this. And I'm sure some of this will be helpful toward credentials, that kind of thing, because we're all learning about this as we get into this WorkKeys.
And let me just say that as ACT, as we're doing more work here in the state of Texas, we have programs that are working with TWC, we have programs working with TEA, we have community involvement that they are requesting that TEA and TWC look at WorkKeys because the communities have found great value for it and they could see how this would be very valuable throughout the state of Texas. We also have foundations that are working with ACT and the communities. We've got one foundation is trying to implement WorkKeys in 35 different counties here in the state of Texas. So we see other entities saying, this is a great program. We've found great success in other states. How can we help Texas get this? So that's what they're working on right now. So the way I look at it is Texas is a big apple and we're biting it from 5 different sides and we're seeing if how we can make this work for everybody.
A couple more questions. So you mentioned $15 for the tests. How about curriculum cost?
Okay, so the test, each of the assessments are only $13 an assessment. It's $13 an assessment. There is no cost to become an administrator. There's no setup cost. There's no training cost. We do have, when an individual signs up to say we'd like to be an administrator, we provide them a plethora of information that helps them understand how to administrate it, including up to, I've got a colleague that could sit down with you for a couple hours online and they can share their screen and they can walk you through the entire process. We are working with Tracy's group in getting a train the trainer situation where we'll be training multiple individuals here in the state of Texas who then can go out to the different communities and help do this training also. $13 per assessment, and that's all the charges. There is no quota on the assessment at all, that you don't have to do a certain level. If you want to do 1 a quarter, that's fine. If you want to do 100 a month, that's fine also. The curriculum is a site-based license, and it's $1,500 a year for the curriculum. And you could put as many people through it and they can go through it as many times as they want. So if you've got a community college that's got 3,000 students, all 3,000 students can get a username and a password. They can go on this, they can go through it. They say, I went through it. I don't think I learned it enough. Go through it again. And then they can go through each module as many times as they want. And it's only $1,500 a month. And that's just basically a site license. So for example, if you're Dallas College, and you've got 7 campuses that need to have 7 licenses. But if you're the Lone Star Community College and you only have 1 site, then you just need 1 license to do that. And that's basically how the pricing works for WorkKeys assessments and the WorkKeys curriculum.
Is the curriculum distance learning? Like is it online or face-to-face, I guess?
It's online. It's online. It's online. However, we do have it in paper pencil version. ACT has the contract for the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and they want to use the curriculum in their prison situation, but as we all know, it's kind of difficult to get online. Right. So we now have that in paper pencil format. So an individual, we have more people outside of correctional institutions ordering the paper pencil version than in the correctional institutions, because a lot of people don't have either access to the internet, they do better reading things on paper, holding a book in their hand. We have several colleges throughout the United States that basically teach a primer course, a 8-week course. They use the paper pencil version as their text to be able to go through that. So we have it on paper pencil version, but I would say 98% of everybody who uses it, basically it's an online system.
You said $1,500 a month?
A year.
A year. So $1,500 a year.
That's right. That's correct.
License. Okay.
In recommending for using NRS, there's a pre-test within the first 6 hours of instructions. It's a proctored test, so the proctored training. They can do WorkKeys accommodations. Post-test is we recommend 30 hours between pre and post-test. There's the WorkKeys technical requirements, in which we have a technical requirement specification, which we can provide. It was approved by the NRS back in July 2023. And retesting restrictions, you cannot use the same form for 6 months, but that's why we have 4 different forms of each of the assessments. So there are plenty of forms in which you can select from, so an individual does not get the same questions each time. So let me talk just quickly about some resources available. As I said, we have built an ACT Texas landing page. That's the QR code for it. It takes you to this landing page where an individual can say, hey, I want more information. They can sign up and put that in. That will come directly to me. On this site also, you can see why they should offer it. There are downloadable NRS flyers that we have available there. There's a job search by skills. It'll take you to our job profile page. And then we have a ton of other resources that are available where you can click on these resources, and this page will be updated frequently. If you need to have more information on an adult educator toolkit, you click on that. You can click on the URL there, the link, and it'll take you there. about work community, about apprenticeship and career programming. Perhaps you're looking for a test center in the area. Let's say a community college says we're going to offer WorkKeys assessments for our employers in the area who want to use it. When they sign up, they can say, yes, I would like to have my test center be made available on your website. So if an individual says, hey, I live in McKinney, Texas, and I'd like to take the assessment, they can go on our website, put in their zip code, and they say, who's the closest place they can offer this? So, I see the, say, Collin Community College is over down the street. So I can just call Collin Community College and make an appointment to go down and take the test. Those test center locations will grow as more and more people adopt it. We do have many community colleges here in the state of Texas offer. I think one of the biggest community colleges to offer is Houston Community College. They are a large user of WorkKeys. They probably offer 100 tests a month for all the different employers there in the Houston area, like Union Carbide and people like this that require an assessment, so they can go to Houston Community College and they can take the test. On this page also, we've got some just in general information. If you'd like to learn, there's all these links to these various web pages that we produce that can show exactly the information that you're looking for. And then we have additional resources. As Tracy mentioned at the very beginning, we do have a newsletter that comes out on a monthly basis. We have a podcast on WorkReady information. Resiliency tools, we have our workforce solutions career page. And then I'd like to invite everybody, if you'd like to consider attending our Workforce Summit this year, it will be October 2nd through 4th, and that will be in Atlanta, Georgia. We'll have 500 to 600 of your peers throughout the country will come together, and they will talk about how they use WorkKeys or WorkKeys curriculum or the workforce solution products from ACT, and how that betters that which they're doing, whether they're in adult ed, whether they're in the K-12, whether they're in corrections. We have a variety of hosts, and that'll be a 3-day conference there. And I believe that's it. There's my information here. If you want to get started with WorkKeys, you can click on that QR code. The Texas landing page, that's the QR code there. There's my email address. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And we look very much forward in working with you and helping you achieve your goals, especially in adult ed, by using our workforce solutions here at ACT.
What does it look like to become a test administrator, and how long can it be done remotely? And you kind of touched on that briefly, but you were talking about a TOT. We didn't talk about like just the test administrator training. Right. So basically, when the individual signs up, and I'm going to say this is the majority of our clients. They sign up. We send them the testing manuals. We send them a plethora of information. There are webinars online that they can go through, and it walks them through. We have things on YouTube, and also we can have one-on-one conversations with you. I've known people that go through the process. They're ready and up and running within 24 to 48 hours. There is no credential criteria. You don't have to have a 4-year degree in psychometrics to be able to offer this test. I would say a plethora of my employers that use it, they have one of their admins offer this test. It's a proctor test. So they'll have a computer in a separate room where the admin will help them set up and start using it. We have that. Now, what we're going to do for the state of Texas is we're going to have what we call a train the trainer program. And my idea what this trainer will look like will be like a 1-day or 2-day seminar, which all the trainers who would like to do this can come, and ACT will sit down with them for a day, hands-on, bring their laptops, and we'll go through this whole process with them and show them how to go about doing this so that they can go out to the individual sites who want to have this. In the meanwhile, you can do this all online. You can do it remotely. And if you've got a silver level certificate, you should easily be able to administer the WorkKeys. It's not that difficult. Before I went to work for ACT, I used to work in the semiconductor business for 35 years. And we had a process what we called cycles of learning. As you go through it once, twice, 3 times, you get really good at it. By the time you've gone through this 4 times, we will be sending people to you to learn how to do this, because you'll be very good at doing this, about being able to offer the assessment, become an administrator. Can this test be offered remotely? We do now offer the WorkKeys assessment in a remote basis. There's an additional cost because, as I said, it's a high state test. It's a proctor test. There's a couple requirements. That individual would have to have a camera on their computer or their laptop. We literally have an individual will watch them take the test. We have a program which they'll use in which they go ahead and take the test. So there's no cheating on the test. They can't go to a different website. They can't log out of the test, go to a website and come back and answer a question. And we also have a lot of algorithms we use. Like I said, there's 35 questions, 55 minutes. If you do a question every 30 seconds, then one question you take 10 minutes on,
it might flag that testament that there might have been some infraction going on at the time. But we do offer that, so we do have remote proctoring available.
Can our test administrators offer it remotely?
I know at this point we have a third party that we've aligned with doing this. I will take that information back and say
Okay.
exactly what you've asked and see if that's something that we can work into our process in the near future. Just say, look, is there a way in which we can have individuals who are working with people one-on-one, can they be the proctor? And we'll see if that's a possibility. We just use a third person right now.
Someone asked if we could use this test to check eligibility if they are basic skills deficient. If the student currently has an HSC, could we use this?
The WorkKeys assessments are measuring the skills necessary for job application. So I'd have to see how that would work. I know we have several states that use the WorkKeys assessment in high school graduations. Not everybody goes to college. In fact, only about 35% of the kids coming out of high school go to college. So there's a lot of people going to school saying, look, I have no desire to go to college, but I still need to either get a job, either through an apprenticeship program or going to the trades or something of this nature. So we have multiple states now use the WorkKeys assessment in lieu of like an ACT or an SAT or a state test in which they take to demonstrate they have the skills necessary to get a diploma. And I think you're going to see more and more states doing that just because of the way the education is going in the country and the high cost of education to get into the college. So beside the camera, what other tech requirements? Yes, PC, yes, Apple, yes, Chromebook. Basically, they just need to have access to the web.
Is there a crosswalk with any other assessments or grade level aligned to traditional high school?
I know there's a crosswalk with the ACT that an individual takes the ACT, which is scored, 0 to 36, and they get a 25, and it would say based on the score you got the ACT, it would show what you'd get on the WorkKeys.
It is my understanding that the higher the score, the higher the level, not 4 separate level tests. Does that sound right, Michael?
Correct. The higher the score you get on the assessment, it will give you the higher level of the NCRC. So to get an NCRC, once again, you have to take the 3 assessments: math, workplace document, graphic literacy. Based upon the score you get on those tests, it will determine the level of NCRC that you would earn, which then demonstrates how many jobs or what level of job that you'd be qualified for.
Can we use this as a baseline in progress?
I believe so. I believe you could use it. Like I said, you could do a pre-test and give it as a baseline, and then you can demonstrate the progress they make after you give the post 30 days.
And if y'all do have more questions, feel free to email me. I'll be sure to use the QR code here. If you want to learn more, there's a lot on the website. You can look at sample questions.
There's also a place on the website that you can sign up and take an entire test.
Now, just keep in mind not to purchase new test materials on these grant funds. Don't purchase test materials that you cannot use in this program year until the next program year. And keep in mind with the training, probably what will happen is once we work with TWC deciding on the training, what training needs to be, requirements you'll need to have to do WorkKeys, and everything needs a certificate. And that's what we told WorkKeys. I think online right now they have training courses, but there's no certificate at the end of them. They're working on that, but we'll probably end up doing a Texas style version at some point once WorkKeys comes to the state and trains a group of trainers, and then we'll build out from there. So I've said this every conversation I have, every webinar I'm on, I do ask you to let me know if your program is interested in the TOT, which we probably wouldn't do until July, to be honest. Perhaps August. I know everyone's going to be starting their year, but maybe you can plan to pilot some classes that you might start later, maybe in late summer or fall or August even. We'll announce the dates when we do a TOT. I would recommend getting on their website and poking around, reading, doing some sample questions, taking the test. Thank you, Michael, so much. We appreciate this information. This is a lot of excitement here with this.
We hope you enjoyed this pre-recorded webinar. After you have passed the final test with a score of 80% or greater and have received your certificate of completion, please take a few moments to complete the course evaluation. Participant feedback helps Train PD at TCAL continue to provide high-quality professional development. To leave a course feedback, please go to the completed portion of your transcript. To do this, hover over the My Learning tab and select View Your Transcript. Click on the drop-down arrow next to the word Active and select Completed. Then, click Evaluate in the drop-down menu next to the course you just completed. Please note that your feedback is greatly appreciated.